Asia session. What is it? What does it do? How to use it, how to trade it, and how to treat it. So for me, I treat Asia session a little bit differently than other traders. A lot of the people online specifically see Asia session as being the holy grail of liquidity, the main targets, blah, blah, blah. I just treat it the same way that I treat other sessions. And for me, in the future, we will be discussing about other sessions. But for now, let's look at Asia. I will talk about a lot of the stuff that I use on a daily basis to use Asia session as a guideline for my day. So let's talk about it. It segments the days into cycles. It's really important to understand that every single new day, an Asia session starts. So it's good on the M5 to have a vision where the current day, where you are, is a new day. It helps you indicate the starting point, right, of each day. Every new day starts with Asia. Really important. It reveals the first market intentions of the day. How many of you trades New York, wake up in the day, like today, that price literally dumped to the floor and there's no trade opportunity? So the intentions coming out of Asia will be very important for us to identify early in the day. It constantly always exhibits the same behavior. Asia session works the same way every single day. Asia session, like any other session, needs to be induced. A lot of people don't know, but New York session and London session also needs to be induced, but a lot of people don't talk about it. But we will maybe talk about it in the future. It eliminates a lot of the noise for the day because it creates kind of a template structure for you that you're able to know exactly where you are currently in the day, right? Again, if price comes out of Asia and immediately boosts the price higher and you look to the left from that inducement and you see nothing, basically there's a big indication that probably price will just go into one direction, building buy side liquidity, right? It helps maintaining patience because you cannot try to trade from those sessions highs and lows, and we'll talk about it also. It provides a directional bias. This is true, like I said, when you wake up in the morning, even if you wake up in London and you see price pushing out of Asia really quickly, then potentially it's not a good idea for you if there's no structural inducement to the left to take a short from there, right? And it adds a lot of clarity because it gives you a good template of each day. And you know exactly when you zoom out and you see the whole week, you know exactly where you are, and where would be the potential new moves for the next day, right? If an Asia session has been intact, then potentially in the next day it will be induced. So this is also cool. Here's the anatomy of Asia session, right? You have 3 main points that you need to look for: Asia high, Asia midline, Asia low. We will talk about the correct Asia low and Asia high, about the spread hours in this video. And also we will make sure that we have our indicator ready for you guys to download so you can use it. All these points are either used as liquidity or used as reaction zone, right? You will see in some of the markups Asia low bounce, Asia high bounce, Asia midline bounce, Asia low inducement, Asia high inducement, Asia high retest. You'll see a lot of those things that indicates proper way of using Asia session as a template, right? This is really important. And these ones, I think they're all, but right now it's in UTC +2, so 11 to 7, really important. Okay. Asia session is the first session that opens every new day, like I stated, and it's also the weakest main session of the day. So don't expect having higher big moves like you see on London on or New York. Okay? It builds liquidity before the biggest session. London Open. Everybody knows that London Open, London session actually provides the money during the day. This is where the money is made. It's the biggest session. We want to see clear intentions, clear trend formation outside of Asia. We want to see coming out of Asia what would be the intentions. Don't trade Asia session without experience. I have some students that are in Singapore and that have to trade Asia, and it's a lot of work. It's really hard, but I have a lot of experience with Asia session. I've traded Asia session for months and even more than 2 years. So I really love Asia session. It's a hell of another beast, and potentially I'll do a video on it for people that are interested in trading Asia session, right? Let's see an example of proper intentions coming out of Asia. As you can see, you have your Asia box. And coming out of Asia, we can clearly see that there's a trend, structural shift here, that they're building liquidity to the upside, right? We can see here, price creates a new high, confirm the equal lows. Then we have breakout traders entering to all these new structural highs. You already know about that. We see the breakout traders, break and retest traders entering. That's good also. And then we see the trend line forming. So we know clearly at this point that everybody's in. We can even see potentially like in lower time frames, some S&C traders. You can see here breakout traders coming back into that POI, potentially an SMC trader. So that's also something you have to take into account. And here we go, building that liquidity, clear intention, inducing structural relevance to the left, coming back with a beautiful relevant break of structure. A lot of you guys would say, how come this isn't a false break of structure? Remember, you need to weight in the liquidity. What weights more? The higher time frame structural point to the left, or this little breakout trader area, right? And this is a type of entry you will want to use. And then this is exactly what I did today on USD CAD on the 9th of September. So if you want to check the chart, that's exactly this similar example that I traded with. So now we're going to be jumping on the charts, and we're going to be looking together on how Asia session actually looks like, and also how we can discuss about the spread hours and the relevance in the early Asia session. All right, let's go. All right, jumping into the charts, let's look together and see exactly what you should do when analyzing Asia session. So in the video, like I said, I will be talking about the spread hours, but not in this current segment. It's going to be after. So now let's just focus solely on looking at Asia session, look at intentions, and also monitoring where is the liquidity. Let's say you are in UTC plus 2, you wake up at 7 a.m. This is your current day. What can you say based on the current PA on what kind of intentions there are? We are clearly building liquidity to the downside, right? Not so much relevant because there's not really any structural point created. We have these mini equal highs with maybe a new structural low created, but like not super clean, and this is okay. Where is the liquidity identification? A lot of people would mark this as liquidity, right? They would say, okay, if this is induced, I want to wait until there's like something like that and then buy, okay? Unfortunately, you are wrong because look at the time. This is 7 p.m. It's really important to look at timing when we look at liquidity. 7 p.m. London session and New York session are completely gone. It's like end of day for New York session. Most likely 2 hours after the office of London session. So what's certain is that this current liquidity is not really important. Listen to me. I didn't said there's no liquidity. I said it's not important. This is just the way I view it based on my personal experience. You can do your own due diligence on the chart. But like I said, everything that it's like basically from here to here, I usually don't look at nothing. Okay. And also, second point, other than this internal low high, this point hasn't led to a new high. So for me, again, we'll most likely not have any reactions. Now, let's go to the second point. A lot of people would be marking this also. What does this point do? Okay, it pushes, nothing again. Listen, it's really important. That's why we do the retail markups. It's important to mark up real liquidity with the retail strategies. So if you would want to mark someone entering here, where? Tell me where they're buying. Maybe we have breakout traders entering here. Maybe we have breakout red traders entering here, right? As we can see, go. They're most likely gone already. This point, that is the most relevant structural leg we have here, hasn't taken a high. So basically, there's not much for us to work with in here. Sorry, I'm drinking my shake. So as we can see, you can easily look at the chart when you wake up and have this thought process and this analysis pretty easy. We did it in what? 35 seconds? Now, let's imagine that you haven't done your analysis and you want to wait until this point is induced. It happens. We all have different market reads. We all have different mindsets when it comes to liquidity. I'm just explaining the way I see it. So let's look here. All right, let's look to the left. Okay. Okay. So we have maybe these equal lows. Oops. Maybe these equal lows we can mark. Right. Okay. So let's play price and let's check what happens. Again, it's really important for you guys to look at each candle one by one. Okay, pushing price. Now price induced with speed this point here. So now your first goal should be to, okay, where is the most relevant point for us to see if you want to buy, right? This point seems not so relevant, but I would at least want this point to be broken to at least have an idea that price is trying to react from this liquidity. Wait. Okay. Candle closure, very important. Okay. As you can see, nothing, right? Didn't came here. Invalidation point, done. Now look at this candle closure on the M5, right? These equal lows. Okay. That's getting pretty interesting here. So let's look at the valid structural point for us at least to have kind of an intention, especially when price is overextended like this. Your goal is to at least have some type of breaker structure, some type of new order flow being created. We need something. You can't just buy from this. A lot of people think that this is what I do. That's not the case. That's completely stupid because look, here we go, right? This is what they want. Now, again, just respecting order flow here, we have probably a valid entry here, and this is often something you want to do, right? You see that this point hasn't made a new high. You know that the wannabe liquidity trader would want to buy from here. You can see the reaction. It's normal. It's part of the game. And this is probably something you want to look for as an entry, as a short. Okay. So again, let's continue. Now look at those candles. Look at those candles. Okay. Now, right? At this point, it's like London Open, right? Let's look. We have a clear inducement again. Let's look to the left. What do we have? Not much. Like buying from this would be literally if you were trying to catch a falling knife. So let's just wait. You play price, you patiently wait. And this is why when I wake up and I see this, I can already say that the pair is going to be complete shit for the whole day because they're building liquidity to the downside. It's like there's literally nothing you can do other than entering with them. Okay. Or having basically maybe a false break of structure to the upside to target an SMT. So now let's look at the price. We have this structural point here, right? And this is where I would be potentially putting an alert, right? So you put an alert here. I cannot put an alert because we're in bar replay. Now you just play price. Again, okay, price is now creating some type of new new structure, but internal structure again. Nothing too fancy now. We just need to confirm if there's something we can. Sorry, I accidentally pressed the shortcut to stop the recording. So let's continue. So now we have some small new highs created, but again, the valid structure at this point now would be this one, right? This push led to the new low. So again, I would put an alert here. So we just wait. Nothing there. Still now they're building again. More relevant liquidity to the downside again. Just wait. Now we put an alert in here now. So now we have an alert here, right? Let me just type it here. Alert, alert. We remove this one here, remove this one here. Alert. And alert. Nothing to do. This is really important. Not trading is actually trading. You're waiting for a setup, and this is why we have multiple pairs here, right? We just wait. We just wait. Okay. Continue. Nothing. Okay. Now, do we have any of those alerts triggered now? No. Would some of you guys want to try to buy from here? Yes. Is this good? No. Why? Because there's no intentions to take any shorts, any buys, or just retesting a zone. There's nothing. And this is really important to practice patience. Okay. We wait. We wait. All right. This has been taken, right? Perfect. Now, again, liquidity taken. Where is the most relevant break of structure? This one. And now this is where it's important for you guys to understand. There is sometimes that, yes, we enter here from these valid zones on the M1 and we take a buy or a short. But it's way different when the price is overextended for like literally 8 hours with God who knows how many pips, right? And until you don't have a clear intention of buying, you don't buy, right? Let's continue. Let's continue now. No, 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 no. No, no. Again, no. Now that would be a valid alert, right? Oh, okay. Alert. Now, the goal is to understand is, are we going to finally reverse at this point in time at 7 p.m.? This is probably the only liquidity this bad boy is going to take for the day, right? And this is not even a highly confirmed breakout zone, but this is potentially our breakout structure that we were waiting on. But currently, with the day, the time, there's not much we can do. We have breakout traders entering here also. So this is where I go into the M1, right? We go into the M1, we look at this candle, and this candle will potentially provide us with something. So now let's press, let's play, right? Play price, play price. Now we have our relevant break of structure. Why is this relevant? Because this point led to a new high. So what do we do now? Right? It's pretty straightforward. We just want to take the zone here. Now, this is just theoretical. Like, this is not for you to short from, because look at the size of this thing. It's completely stupid, right? So you take the whole zone here. That would make it a little bit more confirmed, right? Now, don't tell me these are equal highs. Anyways, we're in M1, right? So now we just play price. Price retaps in. Now, right? We have clearly entered our trade. Now this is clear structural low being created. Now we wait for next candle. What does the next candle print? Okay, this is why you don't move to break even too fast. Is this still valid? Let's go on M5, right? M5 still valid. Haven't created a new high. Internal break. Now let's go. Here we go. This would be a moment for you to move to break even. This was a short call. You want to move to break even, and it just went back perfectly into that PY, right? Now would be, where is the liquidity? We mark this, right? This point, has this point made a new high? Yes or no? No. Is this a good point to target? I mean, this and this doesn't have really a big difference, and this is where a lot of you guys will want to mark this target defense instead of just, this is like not even 1R. Like, don't be greedy. Focus on your analysis. You said that this point led to the new high, right? This point here led to this structural point, but this point here led to this one. So this is why this point is still valid, but for the sake of the exercise, we can put it here. But just so you understand, when we go on M15, look, this point. Yeah, I mean, when you look at it on M15, I'm just going to keep it like this. I didn't say nothing. I'm sorry. My bad. So now we play price. We play price. Potential re-entry. This would be a good break-even zone. Now we go on M5 here. This would be a good partial zone, right? So we have the decisional zone that pushed a new high here. Just press price. There you go. Partial zone taken. We can see there's a release of liquidity. Why? Because this point has led to the new high. Pretty straightforward. Press, 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 press. Faking this zone. Like I said, decisional POI, pretty easy. This is where there's potentially another entry for daddy here. So we go on M1. We go on M1. We see what we have. We have these equal highs here. Okay, let's see what we have. Okay. Okay. Let me just check here. Yeah, that's not super cute. That's not, I'm not gonna enter. Yeah, I'm not gonna enter on that. Not going to enter on that. Okay, now maybe. Now maybe if it comes back to this zone, I'm going to be entering. I don't think it's going to come back. Little bitch. Anyways, it is what it is. I missed the trade. Sorry. All right. So let's continue. Press price. Now that like this is where you need to have trust in your analysis. There's nothing here. There's nothing to reverse. Stop panicking. Don't panic because price reacts. It's normal. Price doesn't go in one direction, right? Just let the price go. Put an alert here. Move to another pair and do your job. All right, let's go. We press price. Boom, boom, boom. Faking this zone here. We already confirmed this. Now, hopefully, it goes to TP, perfect TP, right? 1 to 12, easy stuff. Now, we confirmed the FBOSS, right? We're trading in line with the liquidity. We're not trading against it, even though this potential new high was a relevant breaker structure based on the timing too late in the day. We don't want to buy and go target. And you guys need to understand that at 7, like price came back here on this zone after this relevant breaker structure at 10 p.m. Do you sincerely think that the price will reverse and take all this crap? No. You need to practice your patience. You need to make sure that you have your intentions coming out of Asia. You know that it's short, right? There's nothing to the left to reverse from. Trade in line with the liquidity, right? We have taken this trade easily, covered a high here, right? Easy stuff. We could have entered here also, maybe here, but this is a way more confirmed trade that I like to have. Okay. So this is what I suggest you to do on intentions coming out of Asia. So let's talk about other stuff on the remaining of the video. So I'm not going to go into too much details on the Asia high, Asia low, and Asia midline because I want to do another video about it. But just I'm going to plant a seed so you guys can do your testing. And you need to know that these three lines are there for a reason. They provide what we call reaction zones. So as you can see in some of our daily markups, you'll notice that sometimes we use the term Asia low bounds or Asia high bounds. And in this case, Asia midline bounce. As you can see, there's no clear liquidity built, but there's still a reaction and there's a technical reason behind it. I don't want to spoil you guys because I want to do another video about it. But just keep in mind that oftentimes we can have reaction zones out of these levels. And you can do your own due diligence on a chart and you can actually see why. And you can potentially start putting the pieces of the puzzles together to know, okay, so we have an Asia midline reaction. Why is that? Why is the reason? And I hope that some of you guys will be able to find it. But this is really important because you need to understand that when you have those reaction early in the day, it can actually give you a clear evidence of the potential daily intentions of the day. So let's say coming out of Asia, we have some clear sell side liquidity, right? Then price comes back and it reacts to Asia midline, even though it took liquidity from here. Price is just continuing and being attracted to the next level of liquidity. As you can see, again, this is still at Asia midline, right? Reaction coming back, providing you with another entry in here, potentially on the M1, here, right? And we target lows, right? 1 to 10, easy stuff. So this is really important. I want you guys to look at this and try to at least anticipate those zones so we don't get trapped in them. And especially if you can at least give you guys some homework to do try to marking up multiple Asia bounces reaction and try to justify the reasons behind them. Because remember, every single candle, there's a reason, and it's your job to find it. So now, the only remaining part of the video will be the spread hours. I decided to call it the Asia invalidation shield, and we'll discuss about it. All right, let's talk about the Asia invalidation shield. So in some of the videos I did and some of the calls, you guys heard me talk about the spread hour, where basically I don't want you guys to be involved in anything in the beginning of Asia, and I was talking about 1 hour. Based on my own research, I think that the two first hours should be ignored in terms of Asia session, and this is only based on my own research. You can do your own due diligence and see if you have the same type of outcome. And especially, I think it's probably in 80% of the cases where this is the correct zone to ignore. So you can also do your test in this. You need to understand that it's not because we call those ghost candles that they're unexistent. I'm just saying that those candles are not providing liquidity because nobody's entering here. Let's see here, right? Here, this made a new high. We can clearly see that nobody's entering here because at this point, probably the spread is like over 30 pips, right? It's impossible for someone to enter. Nobody has special access as a retail trader to those brokers. What I want you guys to use this indicator for that we created for you guys is basically just as an awareness, not to completely ignore the Asia low or blah blah blah. I'll show you an example in after, but it's really important. This is just to help you so your eye can see that there's probably irrelevant liquidity in there. And as you guys saw on my Euro GBP trade that I took the other day, or my analysis, I don't remember, I was marking this up as the valid Asia low because it's right after this invalidation shield, right? We can find multiple other examples, and you can probably see it here, right? For what reason this Asia low got intact. It took this point. You can see it here. It faked. It ignored this. So this is the real Asia high, right? So it's really important that everything that is in this box actually heightens the Asia session, right? That would be the proper one. But of course, if in some cases where this invalidation shield will have to be removed from the variables of your analysis, is when we have a higher time frame or a confirmed structural leg created, right? Let's explain what I'm trying to say. Basically, in this point here, we have no liquidity when they made a new high. But when this point makes a new high, probably in some cases, some people will put stop losses here because they see this as a new structural leg created, right? So this is also where multi-time frame analysis needs to be in your toolkit, right? It's really important so you guys understand that this actual box is just to help you and guide you to know exactly where those invalidation candles are. And like I said, those candles do exist because the brokers, when they switch sessions, look, they even take liquidity, right? They perfectly take liquidity and then they move, but it's impossible to trade from that. But when this point, right, this point creates a high here, this becomes a valid stop loss zone, right? And as you can see, cases, probably this stop loss, this Asia session will be tapped one day. Of course, once they enter here, they probably move to break even and probably out. But I'm just explaining that on an intraday perspective, you need to ignore those candles, right? In terms of relevant liquidity. But when there's new structural legs created, then it becomes kind of relevant. Okay. But as you can see, this is the valid Asia low, right? And you can see a reaction base of this zone coming back, right? Leaving. Here we go, right? So again, let's go. This is the proper Asia low. So we mark this, and this is the correct Asia low, right? So this point is the good Asia low. And that actually contradicts what I said about the Asia midline and the Asia high. And this is why I didn't go into too much details about it. I just explained some where the lines are. And we have also another indicator for you guys in the future to talk about that. But for now, I want you guys to practice and also use this tool to actually provide you a compass in your eye to know exactly where to not for or look for early in the early of Asia session. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little clip. It was a little bit longer than usual, but at least there's some valuable information in there. So catch you guys in the next clip.